Okay, ladies and gentlemen, I am now calling to order the meeting of the House Legislative and Congressional Reapportionment Committee. Thank you all for being here. We are going to allow time again at the beginning for public commentary. We are missing a few members, but I think that they are on their way, so we're going to go ahead and get started. We have the sign-up list here, and I think that everyone except for maybe two, you all have spoken before. We are going to limit the time to 3 minutes per person. The first person who has signed up is Karen McCowan. So if you will come to the podium, please. And then Ms. McCowan, you will be followed by Cindy Battles.
Great, thank you. Thank you. Thanks for allowing me to present to you again today. My name is Karen McCowan. I'm the co-chair of the Mapping and Analysis Committee with Fair Districts, Georgia. Again, we're a grassroots citizen organization focused exclusively on redistricting. We're a nonpartisan, nonprofit group of volunteers from across the state. I'm here to update our analysis of the 2 proposed House maps by Fair Districts, Georgia, and our partners at the Princeton Gerrymandering Project, especially for the new House Committee map that was released yesterday. Princeton's analysis provides a nonpartisan, independent set of analytical benchmarks for measuring the fairness of district maps. The overall assessment is that the new committee map is largely the same as the old one, except it is less competitive and safer for incumbents. I'm only going to address the changes from my testimony yesterday. So first, competitiveness. The new House Committee map now provides only 7 competitive districts, which is below the benchmark range of 9 to 22 districts and reduced from 9 on the previous map. The Democratic caucus map also falls below the benchmark range with only 8 competitive districts, as I said yesterday. Extreme districts. The House Committee now has 45 extreme districts, an increase from 33 on the previous map and 25% of the total. The Democratic caucus map has 37 extreme districts, and extreme districts are those that are outliers from the million maps that were created for this analysis. So they are in that aspect, for that district, they are unlike any of the other maps. Minority representation is very minor. We think that our independent analysis shows that the proposed House Committee map now provides a total of 109 minority districts, including majority, minority, and minority influence districts. This is a reduction of 1 minority influence district from the previous map and 2 fewer than the existing 111 minority districts. We have downloaded the new shapefiles that contain additional data that it would allow us to verify these numbers. And we are asking that committee representatives and the LCRO work with us to enable us to choose the correct data in order to out of those shapefiles in order to verify. For instance, if there are 48 Black majority districts, which is the benchmark number that we were hoping to achieve, we want to know that. Again, the Democratic caucus still provides 110, including 41 Black majority districts and 16 Black influence districts. I've been asked to emphasize that these figures are only an estimate. The minority, majority, minority, and Black majority districts, in order to be protected by the Voting Rights Act, have to pass additional criteria, including the racially polarized voting analysis, which we have not done and will not do. We don't have the capacity to do that. So this is a statistical analysis only, that there should be sufficient population to try to draw those districts. So I want to, I was asked to make that distinction. For communities of interest, split cities, it's very minor. The committee map now splits 62% of cities that might fit in a single House district, a reduction from the 63. Democratic caucus also splits 62% of cities. Overall, the Princeton gerrymandering project report card still grades both maps as a B. So we encourage you to reassess the House committee map to address 3 opportunities for improvement: adjusting the partisan balance, which is technically within the benchmark ranges, but is at the far ends of each of them, to be a more even partisan balance, to be near the midpoint of 95 Republican leaning and 85 Democratic leaning districts, create additional competitive districts to be near the benchmark midpoint of 15 districts, and add 2 additional minority influence districts with a voting age population of 37 to 50%. Thank you again for this opportunity to present, and I look forward to your questions.
Thank you, Ms. McCowan. You don't have any questions, but thank you for that additional and different testimony.
Thank you
I
very much.
appreciate it. Next, we have Cindy Battles, followed by Kiana Jones.
Good morning, Madam Chair and Committee. Thank you for allowing us to make public comments this morning before you consider the proposed House district maps. As I mentioned yesterday, we didn't have a chance to analyze the new maps or update our comments between the time we received those maps and the new maps, so we appreciate this. Starting off, we're really disappointed that this committee has the resources and means to create more majority minority districts so the Georgia Assembly can clearly reflect the diversity of our state as defined by the results of the 2020 census, as well as ensuring compliance with the Voting Rights Act and the United States Constitution. Rather than taking the opportunity to empower voters of color, this latest map cracks and packs districts to dilute the voting strength of people of color and unlawfully gerrymanders districts based upon racial considerations. One of the things that we noticed is that the Johns Creek precincts in North Fulton and Southeast Forsyth County have been reshuffled to put District 50 entirely within North Fulton and District 25 with more of Forsyth. It's a slight improvement that shows how easily improvements can be made. District 25 goes from 52% white voting age population to 51. We think you could further improve District 25 by adding the Forsyth precinct currently in District 100 and dropping majority white parts of the county. It's a good time to mention that it would be relatively easy to create a majority minority district in this area with the large Asian communities in Southeast Forsyth and Johns Creek. The changes to District 22 means that it reaches even further into Cherokee and makes it more of a cracked district than it was on the previous map. It looks like District 122 is improved somewhat, but we would refer you again to the Unity maps that we sent you to see what we think it should look like. It looks like Ben Hill County is now preserved, but we would also like to remind you that preserving communities of interest in urban areas is also important. While we hear you say that cracking cities or that cities are cracked for the purpose of equal population, we have provided examples of how maps can be drawn with equal population and without the cracking of cities, which brings me to Houston County. While it looks like the net results are the same, the cracking of Warner Robins now looks worse than it did on the previous map. I'm sure our friends from yesterday who were upset over the cracking of Peachtree City and Coweta County can sympathize with what is being done in Warner Robins. Overall, our analysis is that there are improvements to be made. The packing and cracking that I mentioned yesterday is still largely in place, and we still need more majority minority districts so that the Georgia Assembly can more accurately reflect the diversity of our state. I have mentioned we appreciated the questions that were asked both in this committee and the Senate of the Democrat proposed maps. I'm wrapping up. But I do not see where the Republicans have answered the same questions, despite the many pleas during public comments that you were transparent in your reasoning. At no point during public comments or during these committee hearings has anyone on this committee agreed to answer questions from the public, despite the fact that there are parliamentary procedures for doing so. we would ask not only that you hold off on voting on these maps, although I'm aware that there's a rules committee directly after this, but we ask that you would give the public the answers that they have asked for, and not only give time for public comment, but answer those questions so that the public feels confident that you are making their voices heard when you make these decisions. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Battles, you actually have one question.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
Chairman Smith.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I missed what group you were with. I'm sorry.
I am so sorry. I didn't introduce myself. My name is
Right.
Cindy Battles. I'm with the Georgia Coalition for the People's Agenda.
Thank you.
You're so welcome.
All right, that is your only question. Thank you,
you.
Ms. Battles. Next, we have Kiana Jones, followed by Evan Marlborough.
Hello again to everyone here. I see I have my trusty escorts in the back. It's pretty cool. So I came here again this morning because I was absolutely amazed at what I saw yesterday. I was a little bit appalled that there was one committee member in particular that thought it was his only mission to badger women as they came up here to this microphone. But what I also saw was residents of Georgia reaching across the aisle, regardless of race, party affiliation, or economic status. They reached across the aisle and they stood here in solidarity to ask you to please carefully consider what it is that you're doing. So please carefully take into account all of the information that has been provided to you by individuals and organizations across the state. The unity maps that have been presented to you are valid. There's a lot of valid information there that has not been considered by this committee. And all that we're asking is that you adequately consider what is before you, that you truly take into account how these newly drawn maps will disenfranchise certain voters. You had Republicans and Democrats alike stand yesterday to say that gerrymandering is wrong, period. We recognize it, we see it, and we're asking you just to be fair. I don't think that's an unfair thing to ask. And to further be asked to leave with state troopers standing beside me, which I didn't mind because it's all right. I know that my tax dollars pay their salary. So they're doing something to earn that check that they get. But what we also need you to understand is that we don't come here just to make a scene or just to show off. What we're asking is that you clearly hear the voice of Georgia voters to say that we understand that we're not being treated fairly in this process. We want you to not only answer questions that the public have asked, but we want you to really, really go back and look at these maps, to carefully deliberate, to take input that has been provided and also that's trying to be provided to you, because the public does not want to be glossed over. They don't feel like they deserve to just be thrown off and dismissed as a second thought. We believe that we as voters should be your first thought, and that when you think about the voters in this state, you should want to empower voters as much as possible and maximize every opportunity for each Georgian who is eligible to vote to do so. All we want is our right to vote, and we don't want it to be infringed upon. That is all that we ask.
Thank you. Next, we have Evan Marlborough, followed by Atania Jean Funny.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you guys for having me here. My name is Evan Marlborough. I am a product of the public school system in the state of Georgia, going to school in Cobb County, and then attending Georgia State University for my undergraduate degree. And I am coming to you guys today to speak on unifying the entire campus of Georgia State University, specifically their Atlanta campus, under one district. Georgia State University is a minority serving institution, one of the largest institutions in the state of Georgia, as well as an institution that graduates the most amount of Black students and college age students in the entire country, including HBCUs. So I'm coming here today to request that you guys, please, or you of this committee, please make sure that the Atlanta campus stays within one district. Many of the students at Georgia State, including the 6,500 that live in Georgia State housing, deserve a single representative so that they know who to contact to progress the policies for their future, as well as hold accountable. So I'm requesting today that you keep the Georgia State voting block intact and that you give a voice to the students so that they can have a voice in their state and in their futures. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Marlborough. Next, we have Atania Jean Funny, followed by Vasu Abhiraman. You can
Good
proceed.
morning. Thank you. You got my name right. Most people mispronounce it. You did a great
Oh,
job.
thank you.
Tanya Jean Funny, Clayton County. I'm an advocate and resident of Clayton County. And I want to thank you this morning for allowing me to speak today. And also thank you for the work that you all have done on this effort. Compared to what everybody has said, I think what I'm up here for may be rather small, but for my community, I think it's very important. So I'm here to speak about a small portion of the Lovejoy area that has been carved out of District 78 and has been added to District 116. I understand that you have to do this for population reasons, but I do feel that this does not preserve our county line, nor does it protect our community interests. And when you look at the map of District 78, I do believe you will find that there are other places where you could equalize the population and keep Clayton County as a whole. So I just respectfully ask for you all to consider this very small area compared to everything else, but I do believe it's very important for our community to keep our community as a whole. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Jean Funny. I appreciate that. You don't have any questions. Okay, and our last speaker is Vasu Abhiraman.
Thank you, Chair Rich, esteemed members of the committee. My name is Vasu Abhiraman. I'm Senior Policy Counsel with the ACLU of Georgia. Happy to be speaking in front of you again today. I want to make a couple of points here. First, we've heard a lot about the Princeton gerrymandering project, and I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, the grade of B that it has given the map that is before you today. Want to make sure that we understand what the Princeton gerrymandering project is doing. It's conducting a quick baseline assessment of the map. If you will, I believe it can be described at best as a necessary condition for these maps to be approved, but certainly not a sufficient condition. Again, it's a baseline. One thing that Princeton gerrymandering project is not doing is taking into account what I spoke about yesterday and what a couple of more students have spoken about, which is unifying college campuses within the same district. Stuff like that is not going to be present within their grading system. Also, the Voting Rights Act, importantly, the Voting Rights Act analysis is exacting and intensive, time consuming. It's not something that involves a simple equation, as I'm sure so many of you know. In fact, Chair Rich, thank you for making the point repeatedly that the Voting Rights Act and the Constitution are paramount in this process. They are not factors that are to be balanced against other things. These maps must comply with the Voting Rights Act and the Constitution, whether or not it angers people from a certain political subdivision, even whether or not it keeps campuses whole, right? Everything else is secondary to the Voting Rights Act and the Constitution within this process. That being said, please keep the campuses whole as well. So I wanted to make that point as well. Now, the map before us, in terms of the Voting Rights Act, it seems like, and this goes in accordance with the way it's been described, it seems like it mostly focuses on districts that were already majority Black districts. Those are being described as VRA districts occasionally. I want to make sure we make this point. The Voting Rights Act applies to the entire map, not just the 47, I believe, districts that were already majority Black using the any part Black designation. As a side note, one of the things that has made this process a bit more complicated this go around is the difference between the designation Black only and any part Black. It's been a bigger change within this census, which has made the analysis a little more complex. But we believe that this map seems as if it focuses mostly on the existing framework. But given that the Voting Rights Act applies to the entire map, which means giving communities of color a meaningful opportunity to elect candidates of choice, we believe that possibly it could draw more majority Black districts and not just focus on the ones that are already giving Black voters a meaningful opportunity to elect candidates of choice. Now it's my time, so I'll yield for questions.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Abiraso.
Abiraman.
Abiraman. I didn't have it in front of me that time. I was trying to operate on memory. You don't have any questions, but thank you very much for your presentation. All right, so as of 11, was there a question? Okay, as of 11:30 this morning, we have received 921 comments on our portal. I have not read those from this morning. I have been reading them as we go, but I have not had an opportunity to read those most recent ones. I promise that I will. We've also now had, this is our third committee meeting, I believe, and we've had 2 meetings with public commentary. Today in the committee members folders, you all have House Bill 1EX as substituted with the maps that we discussed yesterday. So the LC number on that, yes, is LC 471163S. So with that, what is the will of the committee? Chairman Administration.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I make a motion do pass by committee substitute House Bill 1EX. That's LC 471163S.
Okay, do I have a second? All right, Chairman Nix as second. All right, any discussion? And I see I have Representative Alexander.
Thank you, Madam Chair. One of the biggest questions from the town hall was, and all of us heard this, once the maps are released, will there be public input? And although we have heard some, people wanted to make sure that once those maps are released and I can look at them and actually see them, then I can make some comments. We received these maps on Friday. We received a revised copy at 12:55 on yesterday. I'm truly concerned that the public has demanded that transparency. And have we really given them ample amount of time so that they can review these maps? I'm still trying to digest it. As a matter of fact, it's 261 pages.
Thank you.
I'm not even able to digest what we received on yesterday. So another question that I have, Madam Chair, is that once these maps relieve us and go to rules, is there going to be an opportunity for modifications to happen in rules?
Thank you. Thank you, Representative Alexander. Actually, the map was released Tuesday. That's when it was released to the public. So we have had public commentary on the maps, and then the revisions that came through that were primarily at the request of members and also from members of the public, those were implemented, and the ones that we could make. And we had walked through those yesterday and had discussion. And that's why I also wanted to make sure that we had public commentary this morning so that people could overnight look a little bit more closely. And I really value and appreciate the fact that some people did that and brought some new analysis. So thank you for that. And I am not on the Rules Committee, certainly not the chair. So I don't really know what the procedure is going to be in rules. But I can tell you that we have taken to heart all of the public commentary that we got throughout the summer on communities of interest and the desires of the public, and also the written commentary that we've received, and then the public commentary here in the hearings. Let's see. Next, we have Representative Scott.
Okay, good morning, Madam Chair. And looking at the substitute map, which is still not online as of yet, and the timing, it's all about the timing. Again, we came in this morning, we have the substitute bill. The people were here on yesterday asking the same thing about transparency. about transparency. And I still do not feel that we have given the people enough time to review these maps. Now, we're here this morning and we have heard people comments this morning. So what I'm gathering is that the comments that are made this morning will not be considered into the maps. If we're getting ready to have a vote on the maps, then the people just came down to talk because their comments are not going to be considered in the maps. And any changes that they're seeking or anything that they're saying into these maps today as we take this vote. And I will ask that While House District 99, the new coalition district in Gwinnett, and House District 48 redrawn to lower the Democratic performance numbers. And also, the map keeps two incumbents still paired in Gwinnett County. Why was this change not made? And there's still an open seat nearby on this version of the map, and Gwinnett grew enough in the past 10 years to add an additional House district within the county. So why are those two incumbents still paired against one another? And why is the deviation range on the version still higher than the deviation range on the current enacted map? You know, it's just a lot of questions that still need to be answered. And so we're asking that you all consider the timing. Timing is everything. And we really object to the timing. Well, I object to the timing of these maps and the way that we're moving forward, because yet the substitute map is not online for people to view.
Thank you, Chairman Scott. An important point is that substitutes are not posted online until they pass out of committee. But this is the map that we discussed exhaustively yesterday. And then it was passed, yes, it was posted online yesterday as of noon. So we have been speaking to the map, and you're right, this is a very long bill. This is the way redistricting bills are. There have to be written descriptions of all 180 districts. So it is long, but it is the map that you see there.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Madam Chair, one more thing.
Yes.
So you said that you had 900 comments on the portal. Will those 900 comments be considered into your evaluation of these maps? Because if we have 900 comments and you have not read the 900 comments, will it be taken into consideration of the maps?
Yes, they already have been. I have actually read all of the comments up until the ones that were made this morning. And some of the comments are repetitive. Some actually don't have anything to do with redistricting. But we have most definitely taken into account the comments that were made by the members of the public. And the map that you see in front of you is an evaluation of all of the factors, first and foremost, the Constitution and the Voting Rights Act, and then it's a weighing of the other factors. It's difficult, if not impossible, to take one district or two districts in a vacuum and discuss those districts. We have the word that we are good to go. I apologize for that. It turns out that the streaming had stopped right about the time that the Pro Tem Jones was speaking. So she would like to repeat what she said for the benefit of the people who are watching at home.
Well, thank you very much. I would like to respond to a couple comments earlier by members. One pertained to the length of the bill. As you can see, it is a lengthy bill. For those of you who cannot read it, it contains a lot of numbers that reflect census blocks. No person, unless they had a very complicated mapping system, would be able to interpret that. But there is a very simple shortcut that very accurately reflects this, and that is called a one-page map. This map reflects the census blocks there, and one can very quickly at least visually see if what is contained in the bill is reflected in the map. Number two, it was questioned as to whether the comments that we heard yesterday would be reflected in the map. And what I would say to that is we will be taking a vote shortly, and each and every member of this committee will be taking those comments into account when they vote.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. All right, next we have Representative Jackson.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just one question. We heard from some people on yesterday, some good people from Coweta County, Peachtree City, I believe in Fulton County, and they were very passionate on yesterday about their feelings on the maps. And we're operating now on a substitute map now. Can you explain, I'm sure they're watching, can you explain when the map will go online, the substitute will go online?
Well, the map itself has been online since around noon yesterday, but the official committee substitute bill will go online if and when it passes out of this committee. But it's the same map that's been online since yesterday.
Thank you.
Thank you. And Chairman Setzler is our last comment.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just wanted to make clear for folks that are watching that the original map was posted last Tuesday. We've been in special session since then down here full-time as legislators taking feedback. And isn't it true, Madam Chair, that multiple updates have been made at the request of members of both the Democratic Party and the Republican Party, both parties, that representatives have had input and have changes made to their district? Isn't that true?
Yes, that is true. We have considered more than the ones that were actually implemented. We implemented the ones that were possible given the guidelines and the law. So thank you
Many of
for
which
that
came from their
clarification.
communities, and I appreciate the openness. Folks who aren't in the room may not see it, but there has been an openness and changes have been made over the last week. So.
Yes, and now one person has added. We're going to take one more question. This is Representative Gilliard.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The distinguished members of Georgia came out in great numbers and packed this facility the other day. And one of the things they said that was very powerful, as I reiterate one of our persons that added to the equation and making a statement today, is that Georgians stood in this very chamber united to say that the Democratic map was probably more fair than the maps that we have now. That was a powerful statement. Dr. King said, give us the vote and we will change the course of this nation. How can we change the course of this nation if we have not considered the Democratic caucus map? How can we consider to move forward in voting viably today as legislators that represent Georgia when we have not heard the citizens of Georgia? As I sit here today, and as I've gone out in the hallways and into the chambers and heard people saying, is it going to be a fair representation? I say today that I think we need to hear all parties. Have you considered the map for the Democratic caucus that was presented by Leader Beverly, and any consideration at all?
Yes, thank you very much, Representative Gilliard. We were very appreciative to have the Democrat caucus prepared map, and we did take into consideration some of the components. And I think that you'll probably see that in some of the areas of the map, there are some similarities and there are some points upon which we agree. And we have a committee process here that we're employing for this legislation, which is like any other legislation that comes before us. Any legislator can file a bill and present it to the committee, and that has been done here. And I just want to reiterate again, I was very sympathetic to the people of Coweta County yesterday, but we have a job, and that's to draw maps that comply with the law. And that is what we have done. There is not, after we comply with the law, there's not one issue that predominates. It's a balancing factor. And I understand that my colleague in the Senate described it as a Rubik's Cube. That is a very good explanation. You work on the Rubik's Cube, you get one side solved and you have just goofed up all the other sides. That is exactly what it's like to try to draw these maps to comply with the law and the guidelines that we set here for ourselves. So with that, thank you all so much for being here at this time. We have a motion and a second on House Bill 1EX by committee substitute. So all in favor of that do pass motion, please raise your hands and keep them up so that we can record. Okay, thank you. All who are not in favor, please raise your hands and keep them up so that we can record your votes. Okay, we have them. So House Bill 1EX by committee substitute has passed committee, and at this point, we will request that it be heard in the Rules Committee. And with that, we are adjourned. Thank you so much.